Have you ever seen a dive watch with a pulsation scale? Let's get a closer look at one in today's review of the Veriwatch Octopus 1973 No Date. Hi, I'm Matteo. Welcome back on Doc O'Clock. Before we dive into this review, I would like to remind you to subscribe to my channel, to follow me on Instagram on Doc O'Clock, where I share photos and videos of watches daily. In order to get us up to speed with the Octopus, I would like to introduce you to the old Italian history of Veriwatch. The brand started its history in 1945 when its founder, Giulio Capezzuto, was only 16 years old. At this young age, he started his journey into the watch world by selling alarm clocks and watches all around the Italian region of Puglia. Few years later, now 27 years old, Giulio Capezzuto, thanks to the help of a friend named Saverio, who gave him a loan without guarantee to invest in his business, started assembling watches in a new lab with dials stamped Veriwatch. In 1961, the business expanded and Giulio began to rely on Swiss manufacturers and also registered his brand under the name Veriwatch in honor of the friend who invested in his business earlier. In the 1970s, the brand was very active in the production of stopwatches and divers, becoming well known amongst professional divers, thanks also to its numerous collaborations with the case manufacturer Squale. In 1973, Veriwatch introduced its most iconic diver, the medical diver Octopus, which was named so after the suggestion of Giulio's son Pasquale. Production continued until 1990s, seeing an arrest after the famous quartz crisis. Then, in 2021, it was revived by Alessandro Leali. Alessandro, which was searching for an heritage brand to revive since 2010, bumped into the history of Veriwatch and, fascinated by it, reached out to the family of Giulio Capezzuto, who was in ownership of the brand since Giulio's death in 2001, and succeeded in acquiring it. That brings us to today, with the launch of the two new versions of the Octopus. The version that I own is the No Date, and it presents the following features: a diameter of 38mm, a lag-to-lag of 47mm, a lag width of 20mm, and height of 12mm excluding the glass, curved sapphire glass with anti-reflective coating, a screw-down crown and caseback, 200 meter of water resistance, an internal rheostat with a pulsometer, 120-click unidirectional bezel, Superluminova BJW9, and a Sellita SW201B that is without the date. Let's now take a closer look at the dial that is done in a matte black that contrasts very well with the white printings on it, resulting in a very legible configuration. As just mentioned, the indexes are stamped in white and the luminescent material of which they are made of seems slightly raised, giving to the dial a three-dimensional effect, hence more depth to it. The markers at 12 and 6 are represented by triangles, at 3 and 9 by sticks, while the remaining ones are circular, creating that way a clear orientation thanks to the different shaped indices in the cardinal spots. Just under the 12 o'clock we find the logo of the brand Veriwatch, and then at 6 the name of the model, the water resistance 20 atmos, and the word automatic. The name Octopus recalls with its typeface the original from 1973, with the exception of its placement, since originally it was placed at 12 to form a sort of unique logo with Veriwatch, and I find this choice in the new model clever, since makes the dial more symmetrical. At the periphery of the dial there's a minute track, done also in white, and at 6 the wording Swiss made, that recalls the Swiss manufacturing of the watch. Outside the minute track we can admire the star of the Octopus, the rheostat, with the pulsation scale. In the No Date version it is realized in white, while in the Date version is done in light blue to be faithful to the original model. The scale is on base 30, and it is extremely well legible thanks to the contrast with the black printings, and gives the owner of the watch the possibility to measure someone's heart rate, hence the denomination of medical diver. The dial is protected then by...
Wait,
just 1 second. I know you've been all wondering how to use the pulsation scale. Well, Doc is here to help. Jokes aside, first of all, to use the pulsation scale, you have to find the right spot to feel the pulse of your patient, of yourself, or the person you're checking. I suggest you use the radial pulse, since it's the easiest to find and it is placed on the arm through the course of the radial artery on the radial bone, right there near the thumb. Now you press there with your index, pressing the artery against the bone, and once you feel the pulse, you can check your octopus, and once the second hand reaches the 12 o'clock, you can start counting pulses. Since the scale is on base 30, once you've counted up to 30, you'll read on the scale the corresponding beats per minute. Now we can go back to the rest. I was saying, the dial is protected then by a curved sapphire glass with anti-reflective coating that gives a clear view of the dial with no distortions and very minimal reflections that are present only if the light catches it in particular angles. All around we can admire the 120 click aluminum bezel done in black with contrasting white printings and a lume pip at the 60 or 12 position, realized always with BGW9. The bezel is easy to operate and has a great grip thanks to the coinage style, and it gives back a nice feeling of being robust and precise in its alignment to the indices on the dial. Now let's take a look at the case. That seems like it's coming straight out of the 60s and 70s with its skin diver style and proportions. As mentioned before, it is 38mm in diameter, so it's a millimeter larger than the original Octopus, which was in fact a 37mm watch. The case is entirely brushed, the finishes are done very well, and we find vertical brushing on the dial side and also on the sides. The caseback is the true masterpiece when it comes to the finishes of this watch. It is screwed down and it features two tentacles to recall the octopus. These are done extremely well and protrude out, creating a beautiful three-dimensional effect. They are polished as well as the rest of the caseback, except the background of the tentacles, that is, sandblasted. The octopus tentacles are surrounded by a portal, and at the periphery by the main features of the watch. The crown is screwed down as well, and features a double gasket that grant alongside the caseback a water resistance of 200 meters. The crown is oversized, features the W of Veriwatch engraved on it, and has a great grip in its operation wires, setting the time or manually winding the movement, and it screws up and down very smoothly, without hesitations of sort. The wristwatch comes with 3 straps, 2 rubber straps and 1 NATO. The rubber straps are realized by the Italian brand Seacult and are extremely supple and done with great attention to details, paying homage to the vintage straps that they are made after. The one on my Octopus is the Tropic style, while the other, that is called Sport, has more of a racing style. Both of these straps come with a personalized buckle that, similarly to the crown, have the W engraved on it, and we find it also stamped in the longer end of the straps, while on the other side, on the other end, we find the printing Fatto in Italia to underline its Italian production. The third option, the NATO, is of a high quality as well, and features the logo Veriwatch printed on the inside. The set included with the watch is presented in a cardboard box, very well realized with a magnetic enclosure, and tentacles printed all over it to underline the nature of the watch inside. Once opened, the box includes a user manual, printed both in Italian and English, a microfiber cloth stamped Veriwatch, the warranty card, a very useful and masterfully done spring bar removal tool in stainless steel, with screw caps on each side of the tool, and the 2 additional straps that we have analyzed earlier. So, what are my thoughts about the Octopus then? I think that the Octopus is an incredible watch, and if it wasn't clear enough for what I said until now, I love it, and I think that is the embodiment of 2 of the things I like the most in watches, that are the broad arrow ends and the pulsometer scale. But to expand a bit more on what I think of the Octopus, I can say that I can find 4 main positives that are the overall proportions and design that makes it perfect for almost every wrist size to me, and especially if you like smaller dive watches, and makes it also very versatile. I think the Veriwatch can be just up or down very easily, and maybe in colder months paired with a vintage style leather strap. Then can say that the pulsation scale to me is a positive because it makes it very unique and stand out in the crowded scene of dive watches. Then the packaging that offers many accessories for your watch, and it is very complete. And then I'd say the lume that shines very bright after a direct exposure to sunlight and lasts very long, making it very easy to read in lower light conditions. The only negative that I can think of then is maybe the price that can seem high to some people. In fact, both versions of the Octopus, the Date and the No Date, are offered for 1,050 euros. But compared to its competitors that offers the same movement, the Selitas W200 standard, and have similar characteristics, I think that the Veriwatch Octopus offers more, both from the historical standpoint, being an historical Italian brand, and also speaking of the accessories included in the box with the watch. In fact, the only two rubber straps alone will cost you around 200 euros and are the best straps, the best rubber straps that I ever experienced. So these are my complete thoughts about the Veriwatch Octopus that makes me very happy with my choice of the No Date. That seems like it was made for me. I leave you in the description down below all the links for the Veriwatch website, and I suggest you to keep an eye on it because in the coming months will come many new novelties from what I know. And also, if you like the video, leave a like, comment down below what you think about the octopus, and as always, thanks for watching. Per aspera d'astra.